This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us today special guest, GoSTEM, Shyam from GoSTEM, and his volunteer. So would you, the two of you, please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about GoSTEM, your organization.
Hi, my name is Shyam. I'm the founder of GoSTEM, Guilds of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math.
My name is Terence. I'm co-founder of GoSTEM.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about GoSTEM.
We are a mentorship and experiential learning program for high school students that want to pursue a career in STEM.
You just got your 501c3 status. Could you tell us a little bit about 501c3 status?
Yeah, the 501c3 essentially is the official recognition by the IRS stating that you are an official nonprofit organization. It gives you the opportunity to collect donations, and it's a tax-exempt status recognition.
If others were to donate to you, then they could deduct that donation on their taxes?
That is correct. And as fitting as it is right now, tax season around the corner, that would be a perfect opportunity.
So when you started GoSTEM, you didn't have any funding because you're able to fundraise now with the 501c3. That means that you didn't fundraise in the beginning.
That is correct. We did not have a 501c3 tax exemption status before. We recently got it about a month and a half ago. So up until now, we had not collected any donations.
And you were established in 2017?
Yes, we were.
So how were you able to implement your program without funding in the beginning?
Well, it was through the graces of very, very good volunteers that we had. They volunteered their time. They developed a curriculum and dedicated time to teach the students at the school as well.
How were you able to find these volunteers?
A lot of those students, they were either friends or I had a few interactions with them, and I told them about the program that I wanted to start, and they were really enthusiastic, and they came on board, which to our benefit we really needed their help.
Were you involved in some other program with these students? In that way you got to know them and then invite them to participate in your program?
A lot of that was just through conversations with people. It wasn't a particular program that we picked students from. A lot of this was they were either friends or they were colleagues, and I would talk to them and then get an idea of what they were thinking and whether they had some sort of passion of building a community or a community program, and that's something that we looked for.
So the colleagues, are those your mentors, the volunteer mentors that you found?
Yes, they were the first official volunteer mentors.
And what did they do as mentors?
At the school, we have a curriculum that's broken down into 10 different modules that teach them the different opportunities in the STEM. So one week we would cover engineering, the other week we would cover mathematics, and then the healthcare, etc. So since it's science, technology, engineering, and math, we try covering like as many careers as possible within that field.
The students that you were mentoring, that your mentors were mentoring, they still didn't have direction about what STEM field they were going to enter. So that's why you had these 10 different modules to introduce them to everything in STEM?
Yes. So it was basically introductory modules that we showed them, and we didn't focus much on the different nuances of the careers themselves. We just said that with the bachelor's in engineering, you could go into X, Y, and Z fields, and that job is going over the next 10 years. And if you are passionate about it, you could seek out more information, which we stayed afterwards as well if they had any additional questions. And we also collected their feedback, which was the most important thing. Whether a student was interested in a particular field, and if he or she wanted to find out more information, they could come to us, and then we could direct them accordingly. And since this was a pilot program, this was really important for us to get their feedback and their data on what directions and what changes we needed to make in those modules as well.
Were you able to get some guest speakers of people that were working in the field to talk with the students?
That's actually one of the things that we're in the works right now, developing. That would be a great transition from where we have lecture slides to where they actually could interact with, let's say, a game designer. If they're really interested in playing Fortnite is a big game, for example, and if they're really interested in game design, then they could actually speak with a person that's working in the field and get an idea of what the day-to-day activities are of that particular field.
Your pilot GoSTEM program was with Benito Juarez Community Academy, right?
Yes.
So how did you get that connection? How did you establish a working relationship with this academy?
So that was actually set up by one of our volunteer mentors. She also helped develop the curriculum at that point. One of the greatest things that through that relationship that she had with Rush Medical School's community outreach program was that they were given classroom time, and one of the schools that they were given classroom time was at Benito Juarez.
So that volunteer was from Rush Medical School then?
She had a working relationship with the Rush Medical School's community outreach program. The community outreach program that I'm mentioning is 5 + 1 = 20, which is a nonprofit outreach program through Rush Medical School's department.
Nice. Could you just give us a little insight about how you got connected with 5 + 21?
5 + 1 = 20 is, so like I said, the volunteer, she had a working relationship with them. She had volunteered for that program in the beginning. So when we started GoSTEM, she basically was the bridge between us and 5 + 1 = 20. 5 + 1 = 20 is basically a program that teaches high school students about the 5 leading causes of death in low socioeconomic areas. Heart disease, cancer, asthma, diabetes, and stroke. Those are the 5 leading causes of death early on in these particular communities, whether they be underrepresented minority communities, low socioeconomic area communities.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How did you network in order for GoSTEM to expand into more high schools? Because you mentioned that on your Facebook page.
So based on the data that we collected at Benito Juarez and the feedback that we received from not only the students but the administrators, we expanded to more schools by via the community outreach program through Rush. They have a few more schools that they had offered us to utilize the time, so we're currently there.
Terence, you are a co-founder of GoSTEM. Could you tell us a little bit about what you did with GoSTEM to help
Sure.
implement it?
Virtually, me and Shyam met about 3.5-4 years ago. I was on a sabbatical. I knew Shyam's father through the community that we both served in. Shyam came to me with GoSTEM as an idea. He was looking for someone to help him put together a business module or a mission statement to put his idea on to some more concrete stability. I was able to come in and essentially help him with regards to establishing a business plan and also the creative aspects of GoSTEM, i.e., marketing, promoting, trying to get more people who are not familiar with the STEM program, get them on board and try to promote GoSTEM and see if we can actually raise money and also get ourselves established, because this was actually before we became a 501c. So I was usually involved in the content development aspects of the initial stages of the project when we first started.
You mean for those 10 stages of the modules?
Exactly. So virtually I would help design the business plan, the mission statement. When we were first designing the original idea for GoSTEM, before it was called GoSTEM, we were brainstorming a name for the program and what our goal was, and why we were actually establishing GoSTEM as a nonprofit. So a lot of that time, me and Shyam would actually spend together, meeting and sort of brainstorming ideas of how to make GoSTEM a reality. So in the first beginning stages, it was mostly from the content aspects of the not the website, but the organization.
But you are working on a website now.
We're in the process of developing a website. Right now, we're just focusing more or less on the content and actually getting people on board who are interested in helping promote via fundraising, and also looking for volunteers, as Shyam had also said as well. We're looking more or less for people who are willing to help GoSTEM grow as a nonprofit, and also trying to develop the curriculum from a grassroots level.
So it was just the two of you, or did you have other people on board helping you as well?
We had a couple of other volunteers. The first three additional volunteers was myself and a friend of ours who's not in the studio today. But we were the three main board of the original GoSTEM Foundation before it became bigger and we were able to get established as a 501c3. So it was three of us initially before we actually found other volunteers to help us as well.
Will you be doing more of the marketing and promotion, or?
Yes. So I'm more or less behind the scenes. Shyam is the face of GoSTEM as a foundation. My job is to make sure I could more or less beef up our marketing standpoint, get more people interested in how to help us and promoting us through Facebook, social media marketing, and also establishing ourselves with a website. We're currently in the beginning stages of that since we've gotten established. Right now we're looking to start getting some fundraising going for the upcoming summer months, working within our community in Rogers Park. Since it's more of a diverse community, we're looking to get volunteers on board who are within our artist community in Rogers Park, to try to spread some of that diversity around so people can see GoSTEM outside of just the science, technology, engineering, mathematics field. We want to also get people who are not familiar with what STEM is also on board with sort of helping us from a grassroots perspective. And the way we're going to do that is by fostering hands-on relationships with the artists within our community. There's a few people we're networking with now who have a pretty good hold on different artists that would be willing to help us get established with some of our fundraising.
Will these artists be mentors, or will they be just helping with fundraising?
They will more or less be like the side of the projecting ourselves outside of just the classroom, but more or less in the community aspect. So within the community, just to raise awareness on STEM, and also to work on a grassroots level within our community, so the school systems in Rogers Park and the other CPS schools can also get a better idea of us, not only as a program within the schools, but also in the community as well. How we want to raise awareness on socioeconomic growth and development in certain areas of Chicago where these programs will otherwise not be available. So one of our biggest missions with this project is trying to raise that awareness through working within the community, outside of just volunteers and mentors, but also with people who can work within their own proclivities as well, i.e. artists, from a mainstream perspective, and also maybe a little more street art as well. so we can establish a formidable relationship within our community.
It seems as if you're dedicating your marketing and promotion efforts through the arts community. How did you come about using that?
Well, initially, I went to school. I'm an English major. I studied at Columbia College. So I have an extensive background with not only social networking and social media marketing, but I'm also a skilled writer as well. I've worked with smaller projects and nonprofits and businesses as far as promotion online in the past. So that's a little bit of my background experience. So with working with Shyam, my idea was to use my background experience as a way to sort of implement more of a hands-on idea with marketing, where it's not seen as just nonprofit raising money to try to see if we can get volunteers, but more or less use my connections within my own community, working in more of a creative field and using other connections as well to sort of help implement GoSTEM as a nonprofit. So that includes artists who are skilled with sculpting, who may have a craft for different types of drawing or things of that nature. We're more or less trying to use GoSTEM as a tool of connecting the community within not only STEM but also in other areas of the community as well. Because one of the reasons why I was initially attracted to GoSTEM as a project when Shyam had initially hit me to the idea is he wanted to outsource people that were not connected to science. And one of the things that I can use from my background experience from an artist perspective is to try to connect science, technology, engineering, mathematics with more of a artistic community where we may not see the similarities, but when you see different advances in technology and you also understand science and mathematics from more of a practical stance and how it helps develop our lives today in this society, we can also reach out and bridge the gap with other communities as well, to sort of help foster some more dialogue and how different programs that are put into our schools are all substantial in helping develop not only for students who are trying to learn and grow in their skills, but to also maintain a better balance within our community as far as the school curriculums are concerned.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have GoSTEM's founder Shyam and co-founder Terence with us at Wizard today. The two of you live in Rogers Park, right?
Correct.
And you find that you want to improve the community, help stimulate more community cohesion and opportunities for students with GoSTEM?
Yes.
How will you fundraise for GoSTEM since now you have your 501c3 status?
One of the ways that we are going to fundraise is by having a co-op event, like Terence was mentioning, between artists and working professionals. It'll be a good co-op between musicians, artists, and working professionals coming together for a really good cause, which is mainly to help high school students.
The working professionals that you mentioned would be individuals who are already working in the STEM field?
Yes.
And you have some connections with them now?
Yes, we were able to establish relationships with them.
How will you enlist more mentors and more student mentees to GoSTEM?
That's something that we're in the works right now. We're developing over the next few months into the summer. We want to build a strong partnership with the Chicago STEM industries, as well as find potential mentors that be willing to mentor high school students, as well as college students that are willing to dedicate some time to volunteer and teach, maybe a few hours in a day, like a couple of times a week, or a couple of times a month, actually, since this will be spread out over the course of like 10 weeks or so, that would be interested in helping out and who have a passion for education or who have a genuine passion of community outreach, they could find us and they could potentially volunteer if they feel to.
Northeastern Illinois University is very service-minded and also an education institution. We have the College of Education, the Daniel Goodwin College of Education. So our students would be perfect volunteers for GoSTEM, right?
Yes, that's actually a great thing. That's why we're here. We loved the opportunity of partnering with another university, namely Northeastern Illinois University. Like you mentioned, they have a really good College of Education program.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any student success stories that you would like to share with us?
Well, we've only been there for a year or so, but I'm much more data driven than anecdotal evidence. But the one story that sticks out with me is that when we first started this program, pilot program, you could say, there was a girl at the beginning of the lecture series who had mentioned that she wasn't really interested in STEM, and maybe STEM wasn't a potential career that she would go into in the first place. And then at the conclusion of the 10th and final module, she approached one of our volunteers, and she had mentioned that she had planned on getting an accounting degree, and then her ultimate goal was to get a master's in speech pathology. So that just shows you how a person or a student, at the beginning, she wasn't interested in STEM, and then her transition and ultimately coming up with a plan where she would get a bachelor's in accounting and then work part-time while she wanted to go and get her master's in speech pathology, which was her ultimate career goal.
So the speech pathology goal came after becoming involved with GoSTEM, right?
Right. That's her train of thought, and that just shows you how a program like this could make a profound impact on the lives of high school students who might not see STEM as a potential career because they might only be aware of few of the options, mainly whether it be a doctor or a pharmacist, but there are so many different things that you could do. Interesting survey that I read recently, it talked about how the incoming class of, I think, Yale School of Management had about 40% of the students had a some sort of STEM background, and which just shows you that there's diversity even in business school.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea about how many students that GoSTEM has served so far in your pilot programs and in the other expansions into other high schools?
So when we first started off, we were initially at one school, and we were given a dedicated classroom time, and we had freshmen to seniors, and I believe we had like 5 classes, about 30 students each. So that was our first pilot program, so we didn't actually keep track of how many students we served particularly. Our second iteration, we have collected data, but we haven't analyzed it. We are actually partnered with DePaul University and their TRIOS program, and they'll be doing the analysis this summer.
Okay. Such as data mining and from the survey responses, is that
Yes.
what you mean?
Yes, they'll be analyzing the responses that we collected from the high school students.
And the pilot program, you weren't able to have any surveys at that time. You didn't think of it at that time, right?
Our surveys at that time were more open-ended. They weren't refined. And after our initial program in the spring of 2017, when we went back in spring of 2018, we still had open-ended questions that we would ask students, mainly what careers they've thought about, but it was mostly now more refined, and that we could actually easily tabulate the results.
Did you have someone helping you to refine the survey?
Mostly it was volunteers again that dedicated their time and thought about.
In what fields to help you refine that survey?
They had a background in biology, and then someone had a background in sociology, which was really helpful, because especially since she works with an education department as well. So she had understanding of what it takes to analyze data in general, but more so in the scope of the Department of Education. So that helped us immensely.
What advice do you have for students and our community in effective volunteering? Because this happens to be National Volunteer Week.
Can you repeat that question again?
Yes. What advice do you have for students and our community to more effectively volunteer?
The advice, I would say more or less it was just more or less recommending that if you want to get involved, try finding a program that you actually have a genuine passion for. So, for example, I have a genuine passion for STEM, and that's one of the reasons why I started this nonprofit organization. If I didn't have a passion for STEM, then I think I would probably stay away. So the first thing is figuring out what your passions lie in, and then finding organizations that have a similar mission and values that you could actually go ahead and volunteer. That's the biggest recommendation that I have, rather than advice.
What about your take on this, Terence?
Kind of going off what Shyam just said, it's better to have a passion for whatever you invest time and energy in. With STEM, from my perspective, I'm not background in STEM. I come from an English writing background. But one of the things that struck my attention from Shyam's interest is his willingness to want to see a change within the community in regard to the school curriculums and CPS in certain areas. I wouldn't say it would be a passion, but maybe in your community, if you feel that you can make a change or make some type of difference, to use whatever your proclivities are to do so. For instance, I'm a writer. I'm more of a creative side of the spectrum, so it doesn't have so much to do with STEM from a hands-on perspective, but just my skill set and what I know my abilities are as a writer, and also my experience in promoting and marketing from an online perspective. I'll say, coupled with all that experience, that would be an addition to helping Shyam and GoSTEM grow as a nonprofit. And I would encourage anyone who has the same ability, whether it be drawing, writing, or if you're a promotions person, if there's something going on in your community and you feel like you can serve and be of some assistance in any way, I would always recommend to try to get involved and make a smaller difference, as opposed to trying to do something so astronomically great of a challenge that it causes a little confusion. Start small and try to find ways and areas in your community where you can become involved in something, even if it's as small as handing out flyer information in regard to upcoming events, or even tuning in to radio shows such as the one we're on now. It's always finding smaller ways to get involved, as opposed to, like, let's say, starting a nonprofit or trying to get involved in a greater project.
Could you describe a little bit about what your background has been in promotion and marketing?
Okay, so from a grassroots level, a few years ago, I started working with flyer companies based out of Hawaii. And virtually what I was doing at the time was online marketing via social networking through Facebook, Twitter, for permaculture events that would happen on the West Coast. We would usually get flyers for different events that would happen during the summer, whether it be festivals, permaculture for starting your own urban gardening, or kombucha, learning how to make teas, oil, so forth. I would usually post these events online, and I would find catchy bylines and cool phrases in order to, capture people's attention as they're scrolling down their Facebook page. They'll see an event happening in their city for the summer, and maybe it might be along the lines of dealing in permaculture or anything pertaining to like holistic healthcare and organizational things as well within the community from a grassroots level. Most of that information led for me doing that also to doing some promotion inside of Chicago, working with small businesses. One of the businesses I had the pleasure of working with is located on the south side of Chicago, Christian Field Style Bar, which was owned and operated. It was basically a salon that pertained mostly to black hairstyles and so forth. So what I would do is go into the salon and I would interview different stylists, and I would also create like a profile of the salon aesthetically and capture that essence of what Christian Fields was and promote that for online purposes, i.e. the website or for press release work as well.
What's the name of the business again?
Sure. It's Christian Field Style Bar. I believe they're located off of 6550 Cottage Grove on the south side of Chicago. So normally from my perspective, as I said before, I'm not a science field major, but one of the things I feel I have a bigger impact on in regard to just promotion and marketing is I have a handle on studying trends and social media, and also being in the younger generation, I know the easiest way to get information across to a large audience is through using social media or through creating a handle, i.e. a Twitter, Instagram, so forth. So one of my things is I like to use that as a way to implement some of this, some of what I do with the GoSTEM as a foundation from my background experience.
Mm-hmm. I know you said to start small and not just try to start a nonprofit, but the two of you do have experience in starting a nonprofit. Still, give us some advice for students and our community in case eventually after volunteering for a while and they see their niche and how they could help the community and they might want to start a 501c3. Give the students and the community a little advice about that, please.
Sure. I'll let Shyam actually pick up on this question because he sort of implemented me in this process, so he'll have a little information as well.
The advice that I would give to anyone who wants to start their own nonprofit is basically find like-minded individuals who might not have the same background but have the same passion. Everything lies with passion. Whether you do a job or if you're actually doing, or if you actually have some sort of dreams that you want to pursue. Passion at the end of the day will motivate not only you but the people surrounding you. So the first thing I would say is find like-minded individuals who share the same passion, whether it be education or healthcare or whatever you want to do, and then go ahead and move forward with applying those talents individually or as a collective group. Basically, first step would be incorporating with the state that you are in, and then this is more like the legal process of it, and then finding a lawyer that could help you apply for your tax exemption status. All of this will require immense amount of patience, dedication, and persistence. Without those three, it's really difficult, especially in the early on stages if you don't have any funding. Now, if you have funding, it might make it a little bit easier, but certainly it's still a difficult and arduous task to move forward with. So the first thing I would say is find like-minded individuals and that have the same sort of passion and drive of giving back and changing the community that you guys are in.
You mentioned like-minded individuals that might come from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that different backgrounds help more, or sometimes different views because of those backgrounds clash?
I would say it actually helps because when you have a diversity in the thought process, like I think from a data perspective, Terrence comes from like a creative writing background and like something that's and he's an artist as well. So for implementing this program, for example, it required a certain level of creativity as well as like the data aspect of it and science aspect of it. So when you have a diversity in the mindset and the background of that individual, whether they be artists or someone who's a STEM working professional or even business professionals for that matter, you have a better chance of seeing and addressing a problem as opposed to if you had the same set of individuals with similar backgrounds. Not saying that they aren't as successful, but diversity in the way and the creativity that you could get from bringing so many people of different walks of life together, there's power in that.
Any last thoughts?
I would say thank you for having us. That's the biggest thing. And also, if you want to help us out in any capacity, whether it be volunteer or by giving or helping us out financially, we have a Facebook page already established. It's called GoSTEM Chicago. So if you're on Facebook, you know where to find us. It's a GoSTEM Chicago. And in the coming months, we will also be having more of an online presence. So we'll have an Instagram and Twitter. Look forward to that in the future as well.
So potential volunteers and potential participants and potential donors should visit the Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Shyam, and thank you very much, Terence, for being with us on WZRD today. Good luck to you, and good luck with GoSTEM.
Thank you.
You're welcome.